Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. In the wake of the DSG yay drama of the last few days, there's been so much discussion from Sean Gares, formerly of 100 Thieves, now of Shopify Rebellion, on exactly what this means and why he might have done this and why this might be the case, but also from Stewie2k, suggesting that it's a likely possibility in the future, or at least it was in the recent past, that he could have joined this DSG team in addition to Yay. That hasn't happened yet, but we know from Toast more changes are coming down the line. He probably is unwilling to depart with many of his players, but Stewie to this team as well was apparently an interesting possibility and might well still be in the near future. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Plenty to discuss. Firstly, the playoff ticket in EMEA go live very shortly, 8 p.m. Central European Standard Time, whatever exactly that stands for, later today. So those tickets are going to be available shortly indeed. And also, big update in the North American Challenger side, the groups for Split 2. I wasn't even fully aware the groups were going to change, but I guess it makes sense for them to. So these are the groups in question. This is Group A, and okay, we have some similar names here. Well, okay, it's the same names as before, but who they're playing is kind of similar. I think they've done the best they can in creating new matchups, but again, DSG find themselves in the group here with M80 and TSM, which I believe was the case before, but it's M80, TSM, Oxygen, DSG now with Yay, very exciting, and then, of course, the Turtle Troop guys and Shopify Rebellion. So that's a pretty stacked group, it's got to be said. SR made that change recently for Vanity, so they might well get better. DSG should get better with Yay. M80 are still the favourites to win the entire thing. Oxygen are good. Turtle Troop. So, you know, there's some good teams in there. TSM, of course, no slouches either. The other group, of course, is just the remaining 6 teams. That turns out to be Group B, which is as follows. Some good matchups here as well, especially Moist Moguls versus FaZe. Looking forward to, but yeah, the Guard G2, Moist Moguls, FaZe, of course, Mad Lions and Aura Esports. So another good group, to be honest, right? I'm more favourite. I think Group A is maybe more interesting from top to bottom than Group B is. I think here maybe the top 4 is kind of more clear cut, whereas in Group A, I think it's possible that SR really get into the mix, and who knows how good Oxygen are. And Turtle Troop pretty good, so I don't know. I think I prefer Group A, but still pretty interesting. And that, of course, kicks off again very soon indeed after we had that mid-season invitational not all that long ago. Also, though, patch updates here for 6.07. So map updates Bind, of course, Bind has been updated. Now, Icebox isn't out yet. That's happening shortly enough, but not immediately. In a few, I think in maybe a week and a half's time, then that's going to be the case. But yeah, so that's the update for Bind. They're also trying to stop people from Q dodging. We're increasing the amount of ranked rating loss for repeated Q dodging, introducing a 1-day ranked restriction for excessive AFK behavior sooner than previously introduced ranked restrictions. So they don't want people to Q dodge or go AFK anymore. Bit of a controversial one, because people would say, well, you know what, if like I've played every game for like 3 weeks and want to just dodge this particular Q, shouldn't be so much of a big deal, but Riot apparently see that it is. Couple of updates here to Sova around the recon bolt, but also some UI indicators which are appearing for many different agents here. For example, on the Killjoy, where there's going to be this yellow indicator that arrives. So this is a kind of new-ish thing, where as Ye says, I mean, Ye was frustrated in this clip seeing this, when the Killjoy is activated and ready to go, there's this big yellow kind of, you know, half circle thing that appears on the screen. And, you know, I don't really know why it has to be so obtrusive. I feel like, okay, maybe this is a good idea, adding this indicator, and maybe you can turn it off. But it does seem very intrusive onto your screen, right? You can see a lot of it. It's kind of blocking part of your vision in certain places. Ye was not a fan of it at all because, you know, I already know when the Killjoy is hitting. I can see it right here rather than needing this entire indicator on the screen. So, yeah, bit of a confusing one, but that is now in the game and one that you guys will have to watch out for. There was also this from Carmine Corp. Shame their team isn't particularly good right now, but as an organization, they're doing fantastically well. And they're actually advertising here this matchup in the, I guess, the subway here in Paris or wherever this is. Advertising their spicy game up against Vitality. So really exciting stuff. And yeah, looking forward to this one. 14th of April in just a few days' time. I'm guessing this Friday. Also, congratulations to Psycho, who did win the Bagre d'Or for this particular week. So here's Psycho, Jim Carrey, management for Sentinels, catfish of the week, basically. So congratulations. It was Artist week 1. Now it's Psycho week 2 after a poor performance from Sentinels. And okay, Psycho replies with the following, but they are going to need to get a little bit better a little bit quickly, because otherwise there are going to certainly be more Bagre d'Or awards towards going the way of Sentinels, I guess, for the rest of the season. And even this was pretty funny from Cloud9. So much pressure. Do we practice to beat VCT teams, or do we practice so we won't be on this week's Bagre Duo award? So, big pressure for these teams to make sure that happens. But let's talk about Yay. DSG Yay, as it is now, still remarkable set of storylines. But I wanted to share a few clips here. Firstly from ShahZaM, where he discusses why this makes the most sense for Yay given the roster lock, and also looking at the other North American franchise teams and saying, look, the only option out there was Evil Geniuses. And we even saw Yay, he was weighing up his options in the offseason, right? We heard him discuss between, he was talking about choosing between 3 or 4 of those teams. We'd imagine Sen, 100 Thieves, Cloud9. Of course, maybe NRG wasn't an option anymore, but he said it in a clip. I remember I think it was on Haven. He was like, look, guys, I'm not joining Evil Geniuses. That is not happening. He said that at the time, and that's clearly the case again now, and for very good reason as well. So if he's not going to join EG, there really was no other options out there for him right now in Tier 1, certainly in the North American size. So Tier 2 was the only sensible option if he wanted to keep competing, which is what he's decided to do. But also Bren gives his thoughts on why this team could work relatively well. And also Stewie2k says that there was a time recently where he was actually trialing for this DSG squad. They decided not to move forward with it. There was also a chance and some discussion between himself and Yay of potentially teaming up as a duo there at DSG, and maybe that could still happen, right? They're not sure right now with this roster they've built. We know that Toast said there's other changes might happen soon, so we'll see if that can happen in the future.
What do I think about DSG signing Yay? Man, that's actually crazy. It's actually insane, right? But it makes total sense when you think about the roster locks and some of the problems he might be facing right now, right? I mean, we talked about it a while back, but in this scenario where, say these are our NA teams, right? You have 100 Thieves, Cloud9, NRG, EG, and I guess I'm at Sentinels right there. But, I mean, like, where is Yay going to go, right? I mean, they just picked up Cryo, so probably not going there. Also, roster lock. He just came from here, so not going there. They picked up Artist in place of him, so he's not really needed there. And then Sentinels has obviously like TenZ, zyppan. Marv does already their 6, so he's not going there. So that essentially just leaves EG until the season's over and teams make roster changes.
And then like a week after that, DSG, like Ocean messaged me, Exalt messaged me when he was still on the team. That was the one team that I didn't hesitate with. It's not that I saw us winning it all. I mean, I think we can win it all, but it's just more so the style and the brains on the team. So I feel like knowing them more, it made me feel a little more comfortable. And then they asked me to trial, and I trialed for 2 days, and I felt like I did pretty well. After the trial, I was messaging Yay, kind of seeing what his thoughts was with me. He was down to play with me, but obviously they were trialing other players, so it's not 100%. In the end, all of it, at least they put me into consideration and sounded like they were down to play.
I think when you get put into teams like this, like everyone here is like grinders. Steel's been around the block, he's got opinions about him, but he's got some wisdom to it, I think, with the years. But these players are grinders. And I think Yay in that kind of system as well can... I think this is just good for him, you know what I mean? Like, everyone's going to be really keen to win, and I feel like personality-wise, the team should be quite good in terms of how they mesh with each other. I know it's a weird thing to talk about, like personalities, but I think it's quite important. Because it can mean like your attitudes to each other, like when you're in server time, talking about strategies, talking about your opinions on what you should do, shouldn't do. And if you have like clashes there, then it can like make or break teams.
So what do you guys think about this whole DSG Stewie thing as well? Because when we heard all the rumors about this big player getting signed to DSG, and we thought, well, it's probably Yay, let's be honest, however weird that sounds, there was also discussion about Stewie, right? Because I think it was quite clear that it was going to be a relatively big name, clouted type player, and Stu could have been a candidate for that. And I think Toast has mentioned that they are looking to potentially make one more change. I don't know if he wants to get rid of, I think he was pretty sad, Toast, when Exalt was let go. And, you know, whether that was the correct decision, I guess we'll see. Now, well, Riku came in. Now Riku's kind of out there and Ye's in, and they might be looking to make one more change. Whether Stu is the right man for that, I don't know. They've already got enough clout and interest right now, DSG, to need Stewie as well. But it'd be really interesting to see, and it'd be quite a nice opportunity for Stewie as well, given what he's been going through over the last few months, of course. He mentioned on the 26th of March, long 7 years, Evil Geniuses, their commitment now ended, and, you know, he's parting ways, streaming, wants to be a crucial part of competing somewhere, wants to either get back to competing in VALORANT or to go back to CS2 at some point. So we'll see how that one goes, but Stewie has definitely not ruled out the possibility of competing in VALORANT. And an opportunity like DSG, if it did arrive, would be pretty perfect for him. Speaking of Evil Geniuses, though, did want to mention some spicy, well, it wasn't spicy, I thought, at all. It was probably fair criticism, but, you know, as expected, this kind of kicked off a bit more than maybe it should have done. So George Getter says, after this season, if EG is still bad, serious questions have to be asked about Potter's ability to lead the team any further. So in regular sports, such as the case of Graham Potter at Chelsea recently and many other occasions, especially in Chelsea football club's history, managers getting the sack, whether they deserved it or not. In traditional sports, if the team doesn't perform, the fall guy, for good or for bad, is often the, you know, the manager, the coach of that said team. Now in esports, the discussion is often somewhat different, where the coach doesn't really, you know, get too much of the credit when they win, but also doesn't get too much of the blame when they lose. And maybe that's fair enough in esports, but if you're also the general manager making the roster decisions, then there is some culpability and responsibility to be had. So Potter, of course, has been with this team for some time, very well liked by the community, but frankly hasn't really built any successful rosters. So George Gillis is asking the point, which would be asked in regular sports, you know, is there a time where a changing of the guard there is sensible? However, predictably, this was interpreted by some to be effectively a sexist comment by George, right? Because, you know, people questioning their ability to lead, would they do that if it was not a woman? I think they most certainly would, right? If there was another coach or general manager of Evil Geniuses that was in the same position, I think questions would be asked. Just because Potter's a woman doesn't make any difference, I don't think, in this case. So, you know, as George Geller said, I think rightly so in the replies, has nothing to do with the fact that she's a woman, just making fair and reasonable criticism, and criticism maybe others would be, you know, unwilling to make. But definitely intrigued to your thoughts on that one in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.